Muggles. Muggles walk through life with a constant desire for explanation. Everything must fit into logic, science, and reason. If a teapot suddenly starts singing opera at a wizard's house, a wizard shrugs and goes, "Probably a cousin testing a spell." A muggle, however, would either faint or convince themselves they imagined it. That's the key difference. It's not that muggles can't see magic, it's that their minds default to rejecting it. In a strange way, they are protected by disbelief. The wizarding world even counts on this. There are countless enchantments placed over magical areas like Hogwarts, Diagon Alley, the Ministry of Magic, but even if a crack in those enchantments appeared for a brief second, a muggle brain simply wouldn't process it the way a magical mind would. They'd see a crumbling ruin instead of a sprawling castle, a blank wall instead of a bustling alley filled with spellbooks and wands. They see what they understand, because anything else becomes noise their minds filter out. And then there's the rare moment when a muggle does witness magic directly, like when Aunt Petunia watched Lily Potter make a flower float. The reaction isn't curiosity, it's fear, rejection, or anger. To muggles, magic feels like a violation of the natural order, something that shouldn't exist. And so, over generations, muggles built a world of technology, machines, and science, completely unaware that just beyond a brick wall in London, there's an entirely different civilization operating on wandlight and dragonfire. If only they were able to understand the limitless potential of magic, the muggle world as we know it would be entirely different. In the magical hierarchy, muggles sit at level 0. And that's not because they're weak, but because they are fundamentally disconnected from the flow of magic. They live in a world surrounded by enchantment and never even notice the breeze when it passes them by. Squibs. Squibs are living proof that seeing magic and feeling magic are two completely different things. Born into wizarding families, squibs grow up surrounded by floating dishes, self-stirring pots, and siblings who make sparks fly just by flicking a wand. And yet, when they try, it doesn't work. No matter how hard they focus, no matter how much magical blood flows through their veins, their wands remain silent. That's because they're not born with the gift of magic. But here's the thing. Squibs are not muggles. They can sense magic. They recognize the subtle shift in air when a spell has just been cast. They can feel enchantments woven into a room like threads. Some of them can even detect magical mischief before it fully unfolds. Like Argus Filch, who always seems to know when a student is up to something, even without casting a single revealing charm. Being a squib is not just about lack of magical ability. It's about being trapped between two realities. They understand the wizarding world better than most first years at Hogwarts, but they will never hold a wand and feel that spark of connection. There's a quiet sadness in that. Imagine knowing every detail about music, the notes, the rhythm, the emotion, but never being able to play a single tune. And yet, some squibs develop sharp instincts. Because they can't rely on spells, they sharpen their awareness instead. They notice details others overlook. They understand magical behavior deeply, almost like observers standing outside of magic, studying it with clear eyes. In some cases, this makes them surprisingly perceptive, able to read magic even if they can't perform it. Mrs. Fick, constantly hovering around Harry's life in Little Whinging, wasn't just a nosy neighbour. She was assigned to watch over him because squibs see what muggles don't. They blend into the non-magical world while quietly staying connected to magic's heartbeat. While muggles deny magic exists, squibs are haunted by it, fully aware, forever uninvited. They're like people standing at the gates of Hogwarts with the light shining through the cracks, close enough to feel its warmth, but never able to step inside. Pre-Hogwarts. Before a wand ever chooses them, before a spellbook is opened, magic first appears in a child like a heartbeat, unpredictable, emotional, alive. This stage, pre-Hogwarts, is the moment when magic becomes instinct more than knowledge. A young witch or wizard does not intend to do magic. They react, and magic answers. Fear triggers teleportation. Anger causes plates to explode. Sadness makes toys float toward them for comfort. It's not refined, it's emotional discharge, like a spark jumping from static energy. Wizards at this age don't cast, they flare. What's fascinating is how unique each child's accidental magic is. It reveals something about their personality long before they ever understand magic academically. Harry, cornered by bullies, found himself teleporting to a rooftop, not because he wanted to use magic, but because his core survival instinct was to escape. Neville Longbottom bounced when dropped from a window, not showing aggression, but a subconscious will to survive through resilience. Even young Tom Riddle spoke to snakes, drawing animals to him instead of people, a clue to his affinity for darker magical connections. Some magical families recognize these moments and quietly prepare their children. Others, like the Dursleys, respond with fear, trying to suppress magic through shame, hoping it will stop. But magic doesn't stop. If suppressed, it grows volatile. That's why Hogwarts exists, not just to teach spells, but to prevent raw magic from turning chaotic. The very first letter from Hogwarts isn't just an academic acceptance, it's a summoning, a recognition that the flame has been lit, and if left unattended, it could burn uncontrollably. Children at this stage haven't learned control, but they formed the first emotional bond with magic, even if they don't understand it. At this level, magic feels wild, untamed, and strangely personal. You don't choose to use it, it chooses its moment. And that moment becomes the first whisper from magic itself, saying, "I am here, trained wizard." By the time a young witch or wizard takes their first steps inside Hogwarts, something shifts. For the first time, magic stops being a reaction and becomes something that can be directed. This transition from raw instinct to conscious control is the heartbeat of the trained wizard stage. A wand is placed in their hand, and it's more than just a magical instrument. It's a conduit, a translator between thought and magic. And the first lesson every Hogwarts student learns is humbling. Magic does not care about your desire until you learn how to speak its language. The first time someone holds a wand, they expect power. What they get instead is resistance. They flick, they shout the spell, and a faint spark appears. It's like trying to speak a language you've only heard in fragments. Magic understands intention, but it requires structure. The clearing of mind before a spell, the proper grip of a wand, the precision of movement, none of that exists just for formality. At this stage, wizards learn that magic isn't summoned by force, it's guided through clarity. This is also the stage where personality begins to shape magical style. For instance, Ron Weasley casts magic like someone swinging a bat, earnest, sometimes clumsy, but full of heart. Hermione Granger casts like a scholar, precise, clean, almost graceful. Draco Malfoy casts like a duelist, sharp, fast, competitive. And Neville begins unsure, his magic hesitant, but as his confidence grows, his spells gain stronger presence, revealing that confidence is as much a component of magic as wandwood. The average witch or wizard, those who settle comfortably into magical life, remain in this tier. They learn enough spells to navigate diagonally, maintain enchanted homes, defend themselves moderately well, and live fully within the enchantment of everyday wizard existence. And there is beauty in that simplicity. A hovering teacup, a self-writing quill, a flue-lit fireplace, ordinary magic, but magic nonetheless. Not everyone needs to be a warrior or a scholar of the arcane arts. Some witches find joy in charming household objects. Some wizards take pride in running a shop in Diagon Alley. In a world bursting with magical threats and legends, there is something grounding about the quiet mastery of day-to-day spellwork. It's not flashy, it's not legendary, but it is home. And that is the essence of this stage. Magic no longer startles, it becomes familiar, trusted, responsive. Where once it burst out in chaos, now it answers calmly, like a loyal companion waiting for its master's word. Exceptional wizard. Reaching the level of a trained wizard means you can use magic, but reaching exceptional wizard status means magic begins to respond to your personality. At this level, spellcasting becomes expression, not just execution. These are the witches and wizards who don't just copy spells, they interpret them. To the average wizard, charmed objects and magical runes look like puzzle pieces. Combine A with B, get C. But to someone like Hermione Granger, every spell carries nuance, layers, and purpose. She's not just saying Wingardium Leviosa, she's listening to how the magic responds, adjusting her wand movement by fractions, sensing the behavior of the spell in real time. This level isn't reached through talent alone. It's built through curiosity and connection. Hermione didn't become exceptional because she memorized more pages. She became exceptional because she cared about the soul of magic. Then you have Severus Snape, perhaps one of the greatest examples of this tier. While students were following instructions word for word, Snape was slicing ingredients differently, timing his stir patterns not by instruction, but by feel. He read potions like poetry, removing unnecessary steps like a poet cutting excess words. While others followed magic, he refined it, and in return, magic revealed secrets only visible to minds like his. It's important to understand that being exceptional doesn't mean being good. Bellatrix Lestrange, for example, was terrifyingly skilled. Her spells were not just powerful, they had a dark elegance. She didn't just cast curses, she guided them, almost lovingly. Her magic reflected her twisted psychology. That's the thing about this level. Magic begins to mirror who you are. Minerva McGonagall, elegant and precise, could transform in a blink without a single wasted motion. Kingsley Shacklebolt dueled like a strategist, reading magical pressure like a warrior reading battlefield winds. Even Luna Lovegood, often underestimated, had an unusual sensitivity to magic. She didn't force it. She followed its rhythm, almost like she could hear something others couldn't. Exceptional wizards are defined by one thing. They stop treating magic like a tool and start treating it like a living force. They are the ones who look at a spell and say, how can I reshape this? They don't accept magical limitations at face value, they question them. Some begin crafting new spells, others modify existing enchantments. A few, like Dumbledore in his early years, invent completely new branches of magical knowledge. This is the level where innovation is born. Legendary Master. And then, beyond all study, beyond even extraordinary talent, lies the rarest category, Legendary Mastery, where magic becomes as natural as breath. At this stage, magic is no longer something you perform, it is simply who you are. Figures like Albus Dumbledore and Lord Voldemort don't walk into a room and start casting. They walk into a room and the very atmosphere changes. Candles flicker differently, shadows stretch slightly, like magic itself is acknowledging a superior presence. When Dumbledore dueled Voldemort in the Ministry Atrium, he didn't look like a wizard frantically defending himself. He looked like someone guiding an invisible current. Every spell he cast was not just powerful, but deeply intentional, precise, like art. Voldemort, on the other hand, treated spells like extensions of wrath. His magic struck like lightning, sharp, merciless, without hesitation. He didn't cast Avada Kedavra like a spell, he cast it like a promise. And that's what separates this tier. Their magic carries weight beyond the incantation. Wizards at this level often perform wandless and wordless magic, not to impress, but because they simply don't need the training wheels anymore. When Voldemort flew through the night sky without a broom, without wings, with only pure dark magic keeping him aloft, he was doing something that broke the known conventions of wizard travel. But to him, it was simply moving. When Dumbledore conjured a phoenix-shaped burst of fire or sealed off an entire room's magic with a single sweep of his hand, there was no feeling of casting a spell. It felt like magic recognized him and obeyed out of respect. This is the defining truth of a legendary master. Magic no longer resists them, it aligns with them. Legendary masters don't see magic the way others do. They feel enchantments like pressure in the air. They sense the emotional residue of spells. They don't walk into a room and look for magical objects, they simply know where they are, as if the objects are quietly announcing themselves. When Dumbledore arrived at the cave to retrieve the Horcrux, he didn't need to analyze it like Hermione would have. He paused and said, "This place is strong with dark magic." He didn't detect it, he felt its weight like a shift in gravity. Some say Merlin could feel disturbances in magic across great distances, like a ripple in water. Whether legend or fact, the symbolism is clear. At this level, magical sensitivity becomes almost elemental. But not every powerful wizard reaches this level. Power alone is not enough. It requires connection. Some, like Grindelwald, nearly reached it, but lacked the final piece, clarity of purpose. True legendary masters don't just use magic, they define magic for generations. Dumbledore revolutionized magical theory, changed the way future wizards would understand defensive spells, and even turned ancient magic, like love-based protection, into a recognized magical force. Voldemort, in his own twisted way, reshaped dark magic and pushed the boundaries of what was considered magically possible, even if it cost him his soul. This final stage isn't just about strength, it is about being remembered in magic's echo.